You are looking live at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, and today we had, second day in a row of a pullback. It was down 268 points or 1.65% on, increasing volume once again. So I'd have to call that another distribution day if you're into that type of thing. It closed at 15,939. I just wanted to point out a couple things here on the Nasdaq. This has happened before. You can see the gap down on this date, January 31. We had a gap down on this date, February 20th. Well, I went to this one, right? The 31st. Another gap down, a 2-day gapper before rising on February 13th. Once again, the 3 days down to the 21 on February 20th. And now we had an inside day yesterday, and today it pulls back to the 21. Whenever you own a stock, you always have to look at the 21, because if a stock's holding above the 21, it's doing fine. This index is in a power trend. It's doing fine. It made this new high on Friday of 16,302, and it just had an inside day yesterday and pulled back today. It's just normal profit taking. That's what happens on the way up. There's a rotation into other sectors. There's profit taking when stocks go up a lot, they take the profits and roll them into, other sectors. And that's just the healthy bull market action. I know some people think I'm a little too sanguine and a little too bullish, but to me, this is normal. And I like pullbacks because it shows me a lot of where the money's going, where the profits are being taken from, which stocks are showing strength. And I'm going to get into some of that here today, here in the afternoon. I got to start with defense, right? Yeah, we're going with defense. It was a very defensive day. AV, Aero, Veronment. They reported earnings and were up by 27%. We'll take that. That looks like an AI stock, right? Breaking out of a base, 28% move with 1,500% above average daily volume. That is a move not to be ignored. It's hard to hold into earnings, regardless of what stock, when you see some of these things imploding. So you have to have conviction, and I know nothing about that stock. Anyway, another defensive name, HWM, Howmet Aerospace. Once again, just in a power trend here, showing strength above its moving averages. And, so some of the defensive names, we'll give it to them. These are not the stocks that I like, and I rarely show them, but, I just wanted to highlight some strength here today before I get too negative. Okay, Novo Nordisk came out with good news today on their kidney study, and the stock sold off. And because I don't know why it sold off, it was profits to take. But anyway, these dialysis center plays did well today on that news because they thought they feared that the drug would do much better than 24%, which to me, I spoke to a couple people in the medical profession today. They said this drug is a miracle drug, and it's really going to do wonders for people with kidney patients and diabetics. And so they're going to file an NDA to get a new drug application to get approved for renal kidney failure. So anyway, I kind of talking about Novo and showing you these dialysis or homes with home care with chronic disease, and they had a good day today. Just on that news, they thought Novo, I guess it was going to be like 50% or higher, but 24% is phenomenal. This one, this is Encompass Health, traded flat in the session, but Novo was, this is the big news of the day. And all it did was fill the gap here. So 124.43, it's a gappy stock, gapped up yesterday, gapped down today. But this is very good news for Novo longer term, because I've been telling you about this. They're going to get into the renal kidney and then the cardiovascular with their GLP drugs. And they bought the manufacturing plant looking long term so they can manufacture these drugs so everybody can have them. And once they're approved for renal kidney failure and for cardiovascular, they will be covered by Medicare, which is a big deal because people complain about how much they cost. I have some friends on Ozempic, and I think they pay 150 a month, and they have a shot once a week, so it's less than $40. So it's reasonable for them and they're very happy with it. But you know, if Medicare covers it, that'd be great because, you know, a lot of people who are on, you know, Social Security and Medicare, you know, get that covered for them. So that's a big deal. The sell-off is a nothing burger for me. I know the index was down, what did I say? 2-something%, close to 2%, 1 point something. I'll have to go back. What did I say? 1.65%. So if your index is down 1.65, you can expect your growth stock to be down 3 to 5%. So you know, Nova was right there, 2.5%. Just kind of weakness with the market. I'm going to get to some relative strength stocks in a minute, but Nova just went down with the market. Same with Eli Lilly, not a big deal. It was a nothing burger. Still above the 10 EMA here. So, you know, your stocks aren't going to go up every day. Guess what? Stocks go up, stocks go down. Who knew? I mean, not a big deal. I really like these days because it shows, you know, shows us where stocks are being supported. I have to acknowledge one other area that I don't really care for, but you know, you got to acknowledge the strength here in the energy sector. This is CEG. This is a spinoff from Exelon. This thing is doing fantastic. Believe that was a breakout from earnings, and this is why we don't ignore these breakouts here. That was a 17% move, you know, with a big volume, and it's just traded higher. CEG has been a monster. MPC, this is one of the oil and gas refiners. Telling you, the oil and gas, unfortunately, they're starting to perk up. They're starting to look pretty good here. Chevron, this one's been beaten up, but you know, had an inside day today. Just showing a little bit of strength on a pretty poor day today in the markets. And this is Phillips 66. You know, trying to form a little base here, you know, that 149, 140, that looks like a flat base pattern. So some of the oil and gas are doing well. I've got to do this. These are not stocks that I buy. I'm just showing you relative strength stocks here. And I'm going to get to the ones that I like a little later. But Jefferies, the financials have been showing strength. You can see this one doing well. JP Morgan, another one, you know, in a power trend, just surfing its moving averages, looking fantastic. And you know what, I'm showing you Wells Fargo. It wasn't a great day. Wells Fargo looks good though. I mean, broke out from this base and just got my dividend check from those guys. So good for Wells Fargo. Keep doing what you're doing. Schwab, this one's setting up in a base. This one could show up in our ready list here because it's kind of trading tight within this base. It's a base on base pattern. I would just call this one entire base from last July. So we're looking at a 8-month base here, and now Market Smith's not going to. So yeah, it's a base on base here with 20 weeks and another 12 weeks. That's 32 weeks of kind of just going sideways. Now it's trading tight above its moving averages. Schwab looks pretty darn good. Okay, I'm gonna have to go down a negative path. Snowflake. This one sold off on earnings. We thought it was just a CFO, the new CEO. The old one stepped down, Slootman, and nope. You just got to mind, what's happening here in the chart here. A bunch of selling, and there's no buyers. So there's no buyers. There's no way you can own it. It's sliced. It's 50. That's why I put out a video last night on, selling your stocks. If you're a swing trader and your stocks falls below the 50, even if you're a position trader, man, that's hard to hold through that. I mean, I wouldn't do it. Now it's sliced, it's 200 today. So this is a no man's land. There's no support here for Snowflake. That one looks pretty bad. Datadog, this is another one I was talking about. It keeps, bouncing off its 50, bouncing off its 50. Whoops, one time, it puts his foot through the floor there, and hopefully it'll rally back through. It's got a little juice in after hours, but you don't want your stock just bouncing off the 50 consistently because that's what happens. Is you want to see it, find support and bounce higher and make new highs. That thing's got to get back above that 138 level. That looks bad. ESTC, maybe, just maybe. The selling's done here. That looks a lot different than Snowflake. You got to go to the 5-minute chart when you're trying to look for bottoms here. It, made this low, then retested the low, and then retested it again, and then some buyers crept in. So this is one that I am watching. I don't like, you know, buying falling knives, but if it does happen to power back through that 118, 120 level, where that buy point area, I'm interested in ESTC. And gosh, this one, I have to report to this one. This is not really a software name, as a computer tech services, but GitLab reported, and Wall Street didn't like it. You don't want to have a bad report on a day when the indexes are down a lot. This one had an inverted hammer candle. Sorry to the longs there. That really stinks. But you know, if it's me, I just dump it and move on to the next trade. Sorry. GigaCloud Technology. This is one that I bought. So now I can say, see, I bought it and it goes down. I don't really care. It's a small position in an account I don't even care about. So yeah, it pulled back to the 21 essentially. Just like the Nasdaq did, pulling back to the 21. Not a big deal. Okay, I'm going to go to the one of my favorite sectors, not the drug sector. I already did that. I've got to go to the retail. I could talk about retail all day long. You know, I'm just going to go to the shoes, and I'm going to go to the stores, and I'm going to go to well, we'll see. I'm not going to go to the restaurants today, I don't think. Anyway, this thing had a 903.70 buy point here when this is the high of this little you know, shelf type pattern, and then it ripped higher with the inclusion of the S&P 500 over the weekend, and you know, people came in Monday and couldn't get enough of it, and now today it pulls back right to that area. 902.42 is the low. So me thinks this is pretty good area to get into Decker's strong stock. Oh, Elf. I know some people were questioning about Elf today. Elf just pulled back to its 10. You know, when stocks find support, you know, it's not just going to, you know, pull back to the exact number, then bounce 5% from there and make it easy for you. This one fell below. It, you know, tested and retested the low and then started to get some love. I would say that is a bounce. Let me go to the daily so I can see. The low of the day was 192. Yeah, it's definitely a bounce. That's $9 off the lows. So hopefully, you know, Elf will find support there at the 10. I always thought that it would have trouble with the 200 and just kind of trade along here. 195 to 205, you know, 200 to 210, something like that. That's fine, and let the moving averages catch up. And that's what Elf is doing. Elf's doing nothing wrong. You know, when a stock goes up like that, you know, I talked about how it broke above its, you know, upper trend line here. And, you know, so it just pulled back. So that's not a big deal for me. I don't care if it even forms a base, although I don't think it will. Probably unless, you know, like a flat base for, you know, 4 or 5 weeks in there. But Elf is still a strong stock. Don't give up on the Elf. Ulta, I think this one might have been up on the Target report. I didn't see any news for Ulta, but you know, Target had a pretty decent report. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But this one, once again, pulled back below its 10 EMA, and you know, and found support around that area. It's not going to come back exactly, but it closed, you know, 0.5% above its 10 EMA today. Ulta, you know, showing strength in a weak tape. Abercrombie and Fitch, of course, it was up again today. They report tomorrow. And what I'm looking for, you know, this thing's not going to form a base for us. I'm hoping that they have a strong earnings report, you know, delivers, you know, a billion or more in sales, and then guides higher, and then the stock sells off just with profit takers. And then maybe we could get this thing on a pullback to a moving average. This is a phenomenal company. It's really inexpensive. Even now, it's above 7 billion market cap, but they're going to be delivering more than 4 billion in sales. So, you know, less than 2 times sales. I've been through this before, so you're probably tired of me saying it. All right, another one. Oh, yeah, I mentioned Target. Their quarter was good. I mean, the cost cutting measures is what's driving them. So, you know, they've got less what do they call it? Shrinkage. So not as much theft. They've laid off some people. They've tightened things up, but the growth, you know, 2% growth, eh. It was a better quarter though, for sure, than what was expected. And this thing was gone from what 102 to 168. So nice move for Target. And you know, that obviously helps stocks like Walmart and Costco. Of course, Costco doesn't need any help. This thing is just blasting higher. And I believe Walmart got a little pin action today, up 1.25% off the target. So that was it for retail. And I did say I was going to mention some relative strength issues, and I've got to go to super micro right off the bat. I mean, come on, folks. This thing, it was up, you know what, how much? 168 yesterday, 19%. Today it pulled back. Looked like it was going to give back, quite a bit. It fell back into this, gap here, which the gap from Friday was 927, and the low today was only what was the low today, Marty? 976. So that still has another 50 points to go to fill that gap. And who wants to make that trip, right? It coincides with its 10 EMA, but what did it do? We go to the 5 minute. We're looking to buy on bounces. You go to the 5 minute charts. I go to the shorter time frame charts, and what we see is that it made that trip down to 976 early in the morning. We knew it was going to gap down just by the pre-market action. It was down quite a bit. So it took about what, almost a full hour for it to hit that 976, and then it comes back down again to the 976. So it's testing that area, and it's testing it again, 978. Okay. And then the buyers start coming in. I don't know if this is short covering or if this is index funds buying it into the S&P front running that. I don't know, but there's definitely buyers. And then into the close, there was definitely some buyers into the close. And so if you were watching it, I was watching it, but I didn't buy it 976. But I was watching it and figuring, yeah, the shorts are going to cover here, and they did, and it's up another $10 after hours. So when the index is down, 1 point, what did I say? 5%, whatever, I forget. And your stock is up 1.5%. That is showing relative strength in that week tape. Supermicro, obviously one of our stronger stocks. I put that video out comparing it to Axon in 2003, 2004, and I did it for a reason. I think this stock's going higher. That's why. Nvidia. Nvidia, obviously, with the market down, they just can't push this thing down. It's defying people. I think it's shorts are getting frustrated that this thing just won't go down. It's like a Tom Petty stock. It won't back down. Had this 823 gap to fill. You think it's going to go back down there? Nope. It only made it to 834 today. So it did get back into the, below yesterday's low, got back into that gap area, but couldn't fill. So I mean, now after hours, it's flat after hours, but still showing relative strength. AMD, same thing. They got the news from that they couldn't sell the chips to China. I thought that was positive news because they're going to sell those chips elsewhere, and then they'll make more chips for China. So that to me, that's like a win-win for AMD. So I didn't really get that as negative, and obviously it's flat on this session while the Nasdaq was down. So more relative strength for our technology stocks here. So that looks pretty good for AMD. Well, obviously it had this gap, and you can just see, I got to go to the weekly here. There's just big blue volume bars here. I mean, this stock is in demand. People can say it's got a 330 billion market cap. It doesn't matter to me. Somebody wants this thing, somebody with more money than me. So I'm just going to kind of follow those institutions. And if they want to buy it, I'm along for the ride. If they start selling it, then it's adios muchachos. And it's the same goes for Nvidia, and the same goes for Supermicro. I mean, as long as those big blue volume bars, I have to show, you can see them on the daily here on SMCI, and then on the weekly. This thing is just a monster. This is the week here where it had the blow off top. This thing's been up every week. My goodness. I mean, it had an inside week last week. People were crying. This thing is just, I better stop. Yeah, I just better stop. It goes up every week, folks. So you don't have to hold it very long to make money on Supermicro. Anyway, that's enough for me. I did, hold on. Before I get to, I did want to show a couple of the drug stocks here. This is Viking. They had their, they announced today they closed their secondary offering at 85. So you could probably going to see this thing bounce around 85 here for a couple of sessions. Nothing wrong with that. TGTX, that stock was up today in a week tape. Gap higher, I think it was after earnings. Yeah, and now it's just trading tight. That thing looks pretty darn good. TGTX. if you're holding this longer term, read up on their data and their sales on Briumvi. I think this is going to be pretty big drug. But we're gonna have to wait and see. I mean, the management has to still execute, but they've launched in Europe now and Germany, and yeah, TGTX has potential to be a real big winner here. So do not forget about that one. And then IOVA, I'm a druggie. This is another one that I like. They got approved for the cancer drug. And somebody's asking me if this is a high tide flag. I would say no, that's not a high tide flag, but I would say this is a potential high tide flag from this area here, about $38. Yeah, it jumped up to what, 99. Now it's forming this flag, which you got to give it like 3 or 4 weeks here for it to flag out. And the tight is a key word there. This is not being very tight. So it needs to tighten up. So we'll give it more time for it to tighten up there. Weekly, you can kind of see there, looking like a short stroke pattern actually, but we'll keep our eyes on those. Anyway, like I said, that's it for me, except for one more thing. In the honor of the great Steve Jobs, I've got to go to some of this after hours action. This is CrowdStrike, up 20% after hours, 21% now. This is okay. First of all, CrowdStrike reported a phenomenal quarter. This is the king of cybersecurity, the endpoint solutions. Their only real competitor is Microsoft, which is a tough company to go against. But obviously they're killing it. They bought a company, Flowserve, I believe it is. That's acquisition that's obviously being met by Wall Street. Well, it might just be the numbers, but they threw the acquisition in there. So I have it flagged for new highs, and it's definitely going to be making new highs. Box is another one.
I didn't get that. Could you try
This is
again?
one that Jensen, I'll get out of here soon. Jensen Wong at their conference call said this is a gold mine. They reported earnings today and it's up 4%. I didn't read the report. I'll have more in the morning, but obviously it's getting well received. ROST stores, I heard the CEO talking about in the release about inflation still bothering consumers. The consumer's not real strong, so I doubt if that'll go anywhere. No movement after hours. JW Nordstrom, down 10%. Oopsie. And so I'm just gonna have more on that tomorrow morning. I haven't read the report. I just started putting this together after hours. This is Questive, up 11 cents or 2.5% after hours. They reported tonight. They have a conference call tomorrow morning to discuss their business plans going forward. They've got readouts coming and drugs in the pipeline. So this is a speculative play that I did buy some shares of this one, but we'll see. I'm not expecting a lot. This is a long-term thing where hopefully it plays out over more than a year or so, so I don't have to pay Uncle Sam as much money. Anyway, that's it for me, except for one more thing. Since I'm mentioning Steve Jobs, Apple stock, when you see the index down like that, I mean, Apple is going to be one of the companies dragging it down 2.84%, way more than the index. I told you about the sell rules. I sell when it slices the 50. Yeah, rallied back through it, but then it sliced it again. Then got rejected on this day right here, February 7th, and that was a good day to short. And it's been weak ever since February 7th. Sliced the 200, tried to rally back up against the 200 on February 27th, got rejected there. This is Matombo stock, and now it's just a waterfall going down, down, down. So there's no way in heck I could hold anything like that. I don't care how much I like Tim Cook or Steve Jobs or Apple products. This stock is radioactive. Yeah, this is going to hurt your portfolio. It's going to hurt your performance. And if you like that kind of thing, go ahead and hold on to it. I don't like that type of thing, and I'd kick that to the curb quickly. Tesla's same thing. Sliced to 50, rallied back through it, and then just didn't have any. This is what you look for when the stock slices. Vertical violation of the 50 and the 200 moving average. That's a nasty move, right? And it did it in 2 days, and it takes like 2 months for it to rally back up. And then it made this high in December. It sliced it here in October. It took 2 months to rally up, then just down, down, down in a complete downtrend. You see all the moving averages in a downtrend. And once again, it has this big drop. I think that was earnings, and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then just falls out of bed. They have a problem with China, just like Apple, just like Estee Lauder. That's another thing about e.l.f. Estee Lauder is getting killed because they're in China, and e.l.f. makes their products in China, but they don't sell in China. And that's a big difference. They sell in the North America, and now they're moving into Europe. So to me, that's the reason why e.l.f. is doing so well. One of the reasons e.l.f. is doing so well. Anyway, I digress. I'll have more stuff in the morning. I was cautious this morning. Overall environment, I am very bullish. Longer term, I'm talking about weeks, not months. And shorter term, like, for the next week or two, a little cautious, but you probably, when we have a downturn like we're having, a couple days of this, little pullback down to the 21, you got to be a little cautious. But then when we start bouncing, that's when you can be aggressive again. It might be as soon as tomorrow or later this week. So you just got to be vigilant. We got to be focused, got to pay attention, got to have your ready list in front of you, your watch list of things that you might want to buy. And anyway, at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. Thank you for watching.